Hello, dear listener. I'm Dean Ardenfell, and this is The Corporation, the podcast where I interview employees of the many subsidiaries of my favorite multinational conglomerate, Hogswood Cooper Media. This episode's a fun one. First, I spoke with the co-host of a popular show on the HCM Home Shopping Network. What a delight to learn how she personalizes her sales pitches on the air. Then I talked to a crisis manager who deals with disasters created by mutant weaponized animals. I do have to apologize right up front here. In the intro for my second guest, I mentioned that she has a hobby of collecting buttons, and I got so excited about the mutant animals, I completely forgot to follow up and ask her about it. I guess I'll just have to have her back sometime. Before we get into the episode, a quick reminder that boy do I love a 5-star review. It really helps people find our humble little show, so please hit up Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a nice review there if you have a moment. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? I hope you enjoy this brand new episode of The Corporation. She's the host of the wildly popular home shopping program You Should Buy It on the Hogswood Cooper Network. She and her co-host Jalen Priestley help to sell over $1 billion in goods per year. Everything from artificial jewelry to dog sweaters to mascara, all manufactured at the same overseas factory in China. On weekends, she tends to her garden of 12 Venus flytraps. Please welcome Marilyn Whitesnow.
Hi, Dean.
Hi. How you doing, Marilyn?
Doing great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, home shopping on television is still kicking. It's still around. We
have a certain audience. There are people who do watch us, and they have apparently a lot of disposable income.
Yeah, and they're not interested in the internet. That's not their thing.
No, these are folks who sort of want something handed to them.
I see.
You know, they're up late at night.
Right.
They're worrying, or the TV's on in the background while they're making pasta. They don't look stuff up. They don't research things.
I see. So they're not looking for a billion possibilities. They're looking for one person to tell them one thing that they might need.
Yeah, or just want. They don't need it. They wouldn't even think that they want it. But then when I'm there showing them how great it is, suddenly they want it more than anything.
And that's interesting. That brings me to my first real question here, which is, how do you do that? Because you're so good at it. How do you approach, the network will give you a brand new item and then you'll have to talk about it with your co-host for like a full hour. How do you approach coming up with enough stuff to talk about and making it exciting for people?
Well, Dean, you can sell anything to anybody if you just create a need.
Oh, I see.
You find a need in their heart based off whatever random product we're handed. And we're handed it moments before we go on air.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think, what's wrong in my life? What are my problems?
Oh, you make it personal to yourself. I see.
And then I relay that to the purchaser, the buyer, the audience.
Yeah. So maybe you could give me an example of that. Like if I were to give you something like a makeup kit or something,
right?
How would you think? Oh, I'm going to use my own traumatic backstory to sell this, to make a need for this.
Sure. So we don't just sell a makeup kit, Dean.
Right.
These are things that you can't buy in normal stores, that normal stores won't take. Right.
Wow.
So perhaps it's a makeup kit and it's just purple. Oops, all purple.
Oops, all purple. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now it is. Wow, I'm going to write that down.
Great.
I have paper here. So they have Oops, all purple makeup.
Uh-huh.
So, Jalen and I will talk about, remember when you were a kid and all the other girls were wearing all purple and you just couldn't find it? Well, guess what, honey? Now's your time.
Wow.
Buy this purple makeup, put it all over your face, and you'll be reliving your youth, your failed youth.
Yeah. And then anybody can relate to that. They can say like, well, it might not have been purple makeup for me, but it was something else.
Right.
But yeah, that creates like a connection, a direct connection between them and yourself. And you have so many different kinds of products. I noticed you're very tactile in, you guys do a lot of touching of the product and handling of it and turning it over. Yes. And in fact, you're touching a lot of things in my studio right now.
Yes.
So it's just sort of a habit. You're a very tactile person, huh? Is that part of the all part of the gig?
Yeah, you have to hold it so that they can picture themselves holding it. So they see that it's real.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might think that doesn't seem like a real thing. I wouldn't want to buy that. That seems fake. We're showing, no, they really did make, a pocket watch that tells you the weather. It's right here. You can see it. It's not fake.
It's not CGI'd onto the desk in front of you. Yeah, right.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. Oh, really?
Yes.
So sometimes you can't touch it.
Well, So CGI is computer generated imaging. Okay.
I always wondered what that stood for.
Yes. So sometimes, I'm a little industry secret. Sometimes we just move our hands around, and later Tony backstage, he puts up the computer and he'll make the product.
No kidding.
But if we touch it, they're like, it has to be real.
Wow. That's really interesting because, sometimes I'll be watching and the manner in which you're handling a specific product seems almost entirely inappropriate for what the product is.
Correct.
And I've always wondered that. So now I know you're handling like a green tennis ball or something.
Yes.
And then later on, the product has been put in there, and most people don't notice.
Most people are very stupid, Dean.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll say, "Oh wow, it looks like she's daintily holding a dumbbell."
Sure.
She must be very strong. Their brains make connections that ours don't.
They'll justify it if they have to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it does seem like it's either one way or the other. Either you're daintily holding something very, very heavy, or you're flippantly throwing around something that's dangerous, or it's a. I can't believe I never thought of it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just one of those dum-dums.
It's the magic of television. It's okay.
Wow.
Have you ever bought anything from You Should Buy It?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I tend to be up late at night, and my friends have told me that I'm fairly gullible, and I think that's part of it. Is that I get really sucked into the storylines. You guys paint a great storyline or something. So I've got quite a bit of crippling credit card debt actually, from late night internet purchases and late night television, game show type of things. Yeah.
Well, if it helps you to know, all that money does go to afford my extravagant lifestyle. Well, so I appreciate it.
It all goes really in the coffers of Hogswood Cooper Media, which is my favorite mega corporation. So I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy that you've got a great life out of this. So you've become very successful, huh?
Yes.
That's exciting.
I have many boats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a lot of friends, hangers-on.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's what they say. Once you get successful, then your friends just become, they're not, you don't know who your real friends are, right? Because people just want to be close to your wealth and fame.
Yes. And I don't care.
And you don't mind.
I just want friends. I mean, I don't care about them. They don't care about me, but my Instagram looks great.
Yes. And doesn't matter what kind of friends they are, as long as you can call them friends. The thing that a lot of people have a problem with is that, as I mentioned, that all of your products come from the same place. They all come from a factory in China.
Yes.
They all have very high petroleum and plastic and sometimes even lead content.
Yes.
And I know that sort of the position of the company has kind of been like, well, you can't test every product. Like the federal government can't test every product.
Right.
So, you take your chances, you pay the fines, you get and you sell this stuff. But people get so up in arms, don't they, about, it's gotta meet this requirement or that requirement, or it's gotta be lead free or what have you.
Here's the thing. People, they say that they want quality products, right?
Yeah.
But then they complain when the price is high. So I'm really giving them what they want. I'm giving you some cheap crap that you can buy and fill your home with, and you'll still have money left over for doing whatever it is you want to do, going to see a movie, going out to dinner. You don't have to choose between, is this product ethical or is someone getting paid well to make it? You just get the cheap crap you want.
It's interesting you call it cheap crap because, I've almost never heard you say anything like that on the air.
Well,
it seems like you're really trying to talk it up as like better than average quality when you're talking about the product on the air.
Yes, on air to my audience. See, my audience doesn't listen to podcasts. They don't read.
That's probably true.
They're not on the internet. They're never going to find this. This is actually quite refreshing.
To be able to talk honestly.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble though. Do you think the network might find out that you're calling the stuff crap?
Oh no, the network doesn't care. I bring in so much money, they let me do whatever I want.
So you have like almost like an Oprah level immunity. You can do what you want. Huh?
You said it, not me.
Wow. How does that feel to have that amount of power?
It feels amazing. Yeah. Whenever I walk in a room and I sweep my cape around, people.
It's a beautiful cape, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you get that from the network?
No, this was very expensive.
I see.
Oh yes, from the network. They bought it for me.
I see.
That's why my name is etched on the back.
Yeah, but it's not a product we could buy on the Hogswood Cooper Shopping Network, though.
You can't buy it. What's my show called? You should buy it. You can't buy it, Dean.
You can't buy it should be the name of that.
You don't make enough money.
I see.
And you don't bring in money for Hogswood Cooper Media because you don't work here.
That's true. Famously, I don't work here. So you're. That I love the you should buy it. I love the refrain, you should buy it. You and your co-host shout it pretty much every 10 minutes the entire way through.
You should buy it.
Yeah. That's always a fun refrain.
Yes.
Yeah. So anything else? Oh, I want to talk real quick about your hobby. You've got a garden full of Venus flytraps. That must be difficult to maintain, huh?
It is. They eat flies, so it means I have to have a lot of filth around my home.
Oh. You can't just get flies and feed them? No?
Where would you get flies?
I realized I didn't know the answer to that question the second I opened my mouth.
Yes. Yeah. It's an easy, free way to get flies.
Why would you buy flies when you could just have garbage pile up in the corner and they sort of materialize out of nowhere?
Yes. I have a lot of garbage in my house and a lot of flies.
Yeah?
So it makes for the houses a little uncomfortable for some visitors, but I'm paying them, so I don't mind that much.
You're paying the visitors.
The visitors. I don't pay the flies. The flies are there to die.
So this seems like a strange situation you've gotten yourself into. You live a life of luxury. You have many boats and capes, and presumably a mansion. Yeah. But then these 12 Venus flytraps are kind of running your life because now you have like piles of filth and garbage around to try to bring flies in so that you could feed the Venus flytraps. Is this like a cycle that, what do you get out of this cycle? And isn't it difficult to live amongst all this?
Sure. I think it's important for everybody to have multiple sides of your personality that different people see. My audiences see me as chippy and peerless on stage, and you get to see a little rawer side of me where I'm unexposed, and my Venus flytraps get to see me at my most humble.
Oh yeah.
They see me, bringing trash in from the car and just dumping it. They see me crying and trapping flies with my hands and trying to feed it to them, and I like that they have power over me. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So I mean, I don't want to armchair psychoanalyze anybody for sure, but it does seem like, a lot of times when people get into situations where they have a lot of power over a lot of people, then they seek out situations where the power is wrested from them, like BDSM, for example.
Correct.
And so it's almost as if the Venus flytraps are that for you. They're like taking away. Is that accurate?
That is on the nose, on the button.
Wow.
I've never felt happier than when
when you're a Venus flytraps bitch.
Yes.
I see.
You said it. You should buy it.
I almost never curse on this podcast, but it seemed appropriate at that moment.
Yes.
Fascinating stuff. I hope you'll stick around. We're going to bring our second guest in here, but really interesting stuff. Folks, my second guest today loves animals, but thinks they could be even better. We'll find out what that means, but first, let's pause and hear a quick word from our sponsor. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You Should Buy It on the Hogswood Cooper Network, starring me, Marilyn Whitesnow, and my co-host, Jalen Priestley. We're on air all weekdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. We'll help you buy things that you didn't even know you needed. Are you the least favorite grandchild? Buy a bucket. Have you ever needed a sweater for your dog? No? Does your boss overlook you for a promotion? Buy a potted plant. Does your daughter hate you? Buy a slanket. Are you unafraid of lead poisoning? Try our lead pencils, lead pens, lead quills, and lead typewriters. Every item we sell is manufactured in the same overseas factory. That means you get the same standardized quality. Is the quality good? Who cares? You should buy it. I'm Marilyn Whitesnow, reminding you that all your problems can be solved. Give us a call and we'll send you some crap from China. Oops, did I say crap? I meant great stuff, great quality products all the way from China. You should buy it on the Hogswood Cooper Network, a family corporation.
And we're back. I'd like to remind you at this point, as I do every show, that I, Dean Ardenfell, am not and have never been an employee of Hogswood-Cooper Media or any of its subsidiaries. Okay, we've been talking to Marilyn Whitesnow from You Should Buy It. And now I'd like to bring in my second guest, who works for a totally different subsidiary of Hogswood-Cooper. She is the Crisis Management Director at BioPhobia, a cutting-edge military contractor that genetically engineers animals for the express purpose of bringing harm to battlefield enemies of the United States. From super murder hornets to radioactive crocodiles, BioPhobia is creating some of the most fearsome biological weapons ever devised, and it's up to my guest to manage things when a project goes sideways. In her spare time, she collects buttons. Please welcome Lindsay Yoghouse. Hi, Lindsay.
You got it. That's right, Dean. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So genetically modified animals to use as weapons. How fascinating and exciting that is.
Oh my gosh, it is my passion in this life.
Wow.
BioPhobia, more like I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not scared.
You're not scared of it.
I'm not.
At least somebody isn't, because it seems like this is some of the most fearsome technology being developed right now. You're developing animals that have like characteristics that, make them very fearsome in a battle environment. And then you deploy them, sometimes secretly through the U.S. military.
Yes.
How effective are these animals in a battlefield environment?
Oh, I'm not the stats guy, but I would say between, I'd say maybe 110% even.
Okay.
Like sometimes we overshoot and get even more than what we bargained for,
So I think that you're really good at PR, and that's part of your job.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
guessing that reason you're saying 110% is that sometimes these animals will kill not just soldiers, but also civilians.
Well, we honor life of animals, and animals, you can't tame all of them. They have their
own instincts.
Their own instincts. Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And we try to do this as ethically as possible. They're free range animals. And so once they're out there, we give them it's like a parent with a child,
Sure.
We raise them. But once they're out in the world, they're out in the world.
Yeah. You've sort of trained these animals to do a specific thing, but if they decide to have a mind of their own at the last minute and veer into town, then you can't stop them from doing it.
There's always one bad egg,
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know, you do a lot of R&D in the States, and you've had some cock-ups and stuff here and there with some of your development. And that's where you come in. You kind of manage not only the crisis of the site itself, but also the PR fallout of that sort of thing. So
Totally.
What happens when like one or more of these animals gets out of the lab, as it were, and starts to create havoc in an American town where they're not intended to be causing harm?
Oh gosh, what we like to start with is starting with the children, because children are, small, weak.
Sure.
We don't want them to be afraid. And we do a lot of outreach with elementary schools.
Oh yeah.
And we give them the opportunity to, in a safe environment, take the animals before they're genetically modified.
Okay.
And have like a petting zoo and see, this isn't so scary. And then when they see our genetically modified animals in the wild, maybe days, years later,
right.
They feel a little less afraid.
Sure.
It doesn't help with the fatality rate, but I think that it really raises morale.
Yeah, that was what I was going to suggest, was that maybe if you're indoctrinating children to trust these animals and then you're making them more deadly, then the children might actually like walk up to a deadly animal when they shouldn't. So you might be counterproductive in that way, yeah? I
appreciate your input. Thank you so much, Dean.
Oh, you're very good at that. You're very good at the public relations part of this. You had a situation where a bunch of very oversized locusts basically razed a town to the ground, and people were a little bit up in arms because you paid every resident $25 and a $10 Starbucks card, and never showed up at the town meetings. And so I wonder, like, how do you set the limit of cash payout, and how do you manage the PR fallout of these sorts of things when people are all mad at you?
That is an excellent question. Well, what we have found through research is that communities like it when they're able to sort of manage the fallout themselves. They don't want too much oversight from big companies, big government, big pharma.
Right.
They don't want handouts. These are good American people. And so we give them a modest handout, enough to, put food on the table.
Let's at least say we care, right?
We care. Have some sous vide egg bites while you're at it.
Okay.
We want these people to live well, and then we step out for the town meetings because it honestly, I've been doing a lot of reading on this. It's a little patriarchal, it's like we're the dad and we're like sitting in on the kids meetings, and it's not the environment we want to create.
So it's not because you're scared of the townspeople.
No. It's because we believe in the will of the people.
I see. That makes total sense. Yeah.
I agree.
So you also have to design these animals based on the enemy terrain that you're sending them into, right? You wouldn't send a razor blade tentacled octopus into the mountains of Afghanistan, for instance. So
that's silly.
That's a thing you must think a lot about. What kinds of animals go in which battle zones, and like what are you going to modify them to be able to do?
Completely.
Like what kinds of things are you most excited about?
Oh, okay. Well, it's military, it's hard we got to keep some of it under wraps.
Secret, yeah.
I guess my favorite project that is out in the world right now, my husband worked on this actually. It's a camel, but the humps, instead of containing water, it's 2 bombs. Each hump is a bomb.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And we created it so that the animal is actually able to survive the first bomb explosion and then able to walk over somewhere else and then explode a second time.
So, wow. It can't be happy though after the first one's gone off.
Oh, well, I guess not.
No, but
Oh.
But like you said, you're trying to do it as humanely as possible, right? And
Yes.
and that's such an important point. Like a lot of bombs, when you set a bomb off, the conventional wisdom is set the bomb off, then wait 5-10 minutes for the response team to show up and for a crowd to form, and then set a second bomb off. So a camel's perfect for that, right?
Yeah, conventional wisdom. My grandma told me that.
Your grandmother told you about two bombs, the 2-bomb theory?
Well, she didn't tell me that idea, but
No.
it's her wisdom, passed down through generations.
So you take that wisdom, and your husband, he's an engineer of some kind, I assume, and then you put it together with different animals until you find, it's almost like one of those children's books where you turn the pages and you can combine different things, right?
It is totally that is actually part of why we work with elementary schools, because kids are so creative,
So kids actually are helping you brainstorm these weapons?
Well, I wouldn't say they help us brainstorm. I would say that they inspire our engineers. I think it's really important, as we all get older, we get further away from our childhood.
Yeah.
That's how aging works.
Sure.
And it's really important that our engineers maintain that sense of childhood wonder, imagination, and seeing these very creative drawings from children who are tasked. We give assignments to kids sometimes, just like, just starting off points for them to have fun.
Yeah.
And oh my God, they come up with the darnest things. They really do.
Bet. So you task a room full of kindergartners hang on, let me say it again. So you task a room full of kindergartners with brainstorming mutant weaponized animals.
Oh, and they love it.
And what do they come up with?
Well, a lot of it is just the Ninja Turtles again.
Okay.
And it's not our copyright. We can't do anything.
I hadn't even thought of the fact that Ninja Turtles essentially are that technology.
They're mutant. That's in the name.
Yeah. Right.
I can't say all the words together because I will get sued.
I see.
I had one. This was good. It was a flamingo, but it just it's really glittery. And I thought that was so sweet because I didn't know how this kid realized the long-term effects that glitter could have on an environment, because it's microplastics.
Right,
It could really poison some wells.
Is it possible that kid just misunderstood the assignment?
I don't like to underestimate children.
Yeah.
I believe in children. I believe in young women. And so
you think that child thought microplastics, long-term effects? Yeah.
It's
smart
so
kid.
so smart.
Yeah.
We get some amazing kids.
And have you ever actually, I'm assuming, I have seen that you guys make the parents sign a contract that essentially says that any brainstorms their child comes up with are yours to use. And have you ever actually used those to create anything in the lab?
I'm not at liberty to say, Dean.
I bet you aren't, yeah.
Oh, you little trickster. You're not going to get that.
I got to try, though. I got to try. I'm not a real journalist, but I do think like one.
Oh, sure.
So anything else here? Oh, my God. I'd love to bring my first guest back in here and see what she thinks of all this. Obviously we're both in sort of product development, but on different sides of it. What do we think of this?
I could sell that flamingo.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
I'm sure you
with your
could sell a
skills.
lot of this stuff, but it's not available to the public strictly, right?
Oh, no. Unless you have $5 billion starting point.
I see.
$5 billion for a glittery flamingo?
Oh, no. That would be at a much higher. If you want to get maybe a really toxic plant, that would be about $5 billion. But we're talking trillions here.
Well, Marilyn already has a plant that's deadly,
I heard.
literally
Toxic.
deadly.
Do you have to care for the plant?
Not even a little bit.
I don't want that.
So do you think, okay, so I always like to see ways in which my guests can possibly work together or help one another. And I'm thinking about this Now, obviously, Marilyn, if you enjoy this feeling of subservience that living amongst filth and Venus flytraps gives you, then fine. However, I just thought perhaps, we have someone here who actually has the power to be able to engineer a Venus flytrap who maybe doesn't need flies or maybe could live on its own or, as long as it could be trained, obviously not to attack you.
Or you could train it to make them more vicious.
Yes. Well,
if you could make the Venus flytrap so it attacks me unless I give it a fly.
That's what you would prefer? Is it would be more aggressive?
An aggressive Venus flytrap that makes you its servant and it bites you, and it could talk. And it could tell you things about yourself that you didn't like.
We're still cracking consciousness. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but I will certainly pull some strings for you.
But I mean, if you were to engineer this sort of extra aggressive, larger version of a Venus flytrap for Marilyn, then possibly BioPhobia could actually turn that into a product that they could sell to the military, yeah? Although it is rooted in the ground, so that might be tricky with mobility, right?
It would be tricky. Well, I have seen models of plants where they're in pots, and that is a lot more mobile.
Sure.
But I mean, a soldier carrying around a pot, that's silly. That is just silly. Can you imagine? Let's all take a moment.
Like a soldier carrying a pot with a large Venus flytrap.
That's just silly.
Into battle.
That's ridiculous.
You don't think that would work?
No.
I mean, are you sure you only want to sell to the military? Because I could sell this stuff like hotcakes.
I'll talk to my husband. He makes all the decisions, of course.
You'd say, do you have an enemy? Do you have a neighbor that you hate?
Oh,
well, I've got a bird for you.
A bird? I thought it was a plant.
Anything. You're pitching. I'm spitballing here.
I wonder if is there a market for there's a lot of gun owners who talk about personal safety, and they have guns in their homes for personal safety. But some people either don't want guns or can't have them legally. And I wonder, if there's a market out there, if BioPhobia had a commercial wing and they created something for personal, protection, that then we could, pop over to the Hogswood Cooper Shopping Network and Marilyn could sell it for you. What do we think of that?
That is a wonderful idea, a home protection service.
Can you make a parakeet that shoots bullets out of its mouth?
Oh, we can make anything.
I can sell that. And you should buy it.
Wow. And that's the show for this week, everybody. Marilyn Whitesnow was played by Colleen Goodhue. Colleen is a super funny Vermont-based improviser. She performs regularly with the team Big Boy Sweater Club. Lindsay Yoghouse was played by Eyring, a stand-up comedian who's been tearing it up in Burlington, Vermont recently. I'm Nathan Hartswick playing Dean Ardenfell. You can follow this podcast at The Corporation Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and visit the website at thecorporationpod.com. Please subscribe, please review, tell your friends about the show, and if you're in the Burlington area, I hope you'll check out a show at Vermont Comedy Club and say hi. See you next week, everybody.